The European Union has ordered computer giant Apple to pay $14.3 billion in back taxes to Ireland. It's part of a crackdown by regulators on companies accused of avoiding taxes by funneling profits through the Irish Republic. Well, let's talk more about the Apple ruling. I'm joined now by market analyst Jasper Lawler. Jasper, good to have you with us. So I know Apple says that it's going to appeal this ruling, but on the face of it, right now, it seems a hugely damaging decision.
That's right. Apple are going to appeal the decision, as is Ireland going to appeal the decision. And I think that to some extent has limited the downside on Apple's shares today, which obviously have fallen after hearing this decision. But obviously, this is a huge pile of cash, 13 billion euros. Now, in a broader sense, you could say that Apple does have $180 billion in foreign reserves that it's accumulated over the years. So actually, 13 billion, as big as it is still actually a small percentage of those foreign reserves of Apple's assets. Still, obviously, Apple does not want to be paying this.
And Apple says that the ruling is going to have wider repercussions. It says, and I quote, it will damage investment and job creation in Europe. So what's your assessment of that? Could this ruling have a negative impact on growth in Europe?
I would go along with that, because I think no one can really dispute that Apple has been paying way under what it morally should be as a corporation in Ireland and in other parts of Europe. But the question is, how do you address that? And so what Europe has essentially done here is grab taxes retroactively. So that obviously creates a lot of uncertainty for big US multinationals, many of whom are actually in Ireland for similar reasons, the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, even coffee company Starbucks. They're all there hoping to invest and employ people in those countries. The decision whether to continue doing that has obviously been undermined now, because they don't know whether at some point in time they're suddenly going to owe billions of dollars potentially to one of the European states, because it's been retroactively decided that they should be. So Apple's defense here obviously is that they followed the law. Now that law is obviously wrong, that it should be changed. But in my opinion, the method here is to move forward and change those laws so that Apple acts correctly going forward. But to retroactively grab the cash, or at least force Ireland to do so, creates a lot of uncertainty, and I think it will undermine investment, which is desperately needed in Europe at the moment.
There'll be a lot of companies sort of watching this nervously, won't they? Let me ask you about the US, because the Obama administration warned Brussels last week that it would retaliate if this demand for unpaid tax goes ahead. What does that mean? What could the US do?
Well, it is a bit of a tit for tat between the US and Europe at the moment, and Ireland have been actually a big focus of it, because if you remember, the US prevented some US companies moving their operations to Ireland to benefit from lower taxes in what they called inversion deals. So the US has already done a bit to scupper what potentially could have been advantageous to Europe with this low tax situation. But arguably what the US will do is put up barriers against European companies and potentially even bring up its own tax laws that are more favorable to the US against European companies. And so that, under the Obama administration, I would say is probably unlikely. But looking at the two presidential candidates, there is a bit more protectionism in the rhetoric there. And I think should this ruling would actually just add fuel to the fire for that protectionism that could be coming in the US.
Jasper, good to speak with you. Thank you very much indeed for that. Jasper Lawler there.